Well, good morning and welcome to Monday morning's assembly. I do hope you had a lovely weekend, an opportunity for some rest and relaxation, some time to spend with one another, hopefully in a relaxed manner. Did you manage to do any reading over the weekend? I mean reading for pleasure, not reading for work, not reading for study, but reading for pleasure. I've been thinking about reading and its importance a lot. I'm very conscious, and I know our teachers are as well, that all of us, teachers, parents, and you as children, have had to spend an awful lot of time in front of screens. And whilst those screens have been brilliant because they've enabled us to contact one another and work so effectively together, staring at a screen, reading from a screen all the time isn't the best for us. And I think in an ideal world we would use it, but not as much as we've had to, and that's just been the way of things at the moment. But I do know that sitting and reading is actually something that can be very pleasurable for a number of people, and a really good thing for us to do regardless of our age, whether we're a child at school, whether we're grown up in the midst of our work, or indeed perhaps a grown up that's retired and doesn't have the same pressures of work upon them. The ability to get lost in a good book, or to discover new worlds in a new book, new facts and new figures. Well, I think that reading is a really critical part of who we are. And I spent a lot of time over the last few weeks in assemblies talking to you about character. And I would suggest that whilst reading isn't a characteristic, I think building the skill and the joy and learning the joy of reading is something that's really useful in our lives all the way through. I've been reading, I can't tell you the number of different documents that have been coming for me to read and review and develop and write, loads. You would expect that this would be normal, and it's been increased considerably in the last 10 or 12 weeks. However, I have tried to make some time during my day, particularly in the evenings and at the weekends, where I can just sit down and read for pleasure. Not because it's linked to a job, not because I have to have information about something, but actually just because I want to spend some relaxing time. And I decided to go through the children's bookshelves, and I just found an old favourite of mine from when I was a child. I wonder if you can guess what it is. I bet many of you have read this book or have got a copy of it at home. You certainly will all have heard of it. So the book that I decided to pick up very recently is this one. It's Roald Dahl, James and the Giant Peach. And I'm pretty sure all of you will know the story or elements of the story, even if you haven't read it yourself. It's just been such fun. Roald Dahl's like an old friend, isn't he? When you start to sit down, I haven't read his book or books for a while. I think the last one I read was The Twit, when I read to a class a few months ago. But just to sit down myself, not to do with work, and just spend some time, it was like revisiting an old friend. I still remember his phraseology, his terminology, the fact that he loved to create new words, and also remembered James. I remember James quite well because although he's a fictional character, I was introduced to him by my teacher at school, when in the afternoons, when all the work was done and things were tidied up, she would read to us for the last 20 minutes of the day, not every day, but a good number of times, and she would take us through and we would discuss the different characters. And I can remember feeling slightly frightened of Aunt Sponge and Aunt Spiker, who were really rotten to James. I was reading it just at the beginning, and you know, they call him horrible names, it says, and refer to him as you disgusting little beast or filthy nuisance. I mean, these are really rotten characters. But then there's the beauty of him meeting all of the insects inside of this peach, this magical peach, and they go on this wonderful journey. And you see the character of the centipede and the spider and others develop, and James's character as well. And just being able to spend a little bit of time not thinking about school or about jobs or all of the big things that we have to think about. And these are important things that we all have to do. We've all got our roles to play. But actually just spending some time, relaxing time with James and with Roll, I was really taken with how good it is for us. And so I want to encourage you, if you haven't perhaps got into some books for a while, you've been doing it for schoolwork, you've been reading around that, but actually in your spare time you're thinking, oh, not so much. I want to encourage you to reconnect with books again, not for learning, not because you've got to give a book report, not because it's good to build your vocabulary, although it really is, and it assists with spelling massively, but actually just for the sheer joy of reading. Perhaps you prefer non-fiction, perhaps you're into technology or sports. There's so many different things that we can read about them. Or indeed, it could be that you love a good yarn, Harry Potter or something like that. It might even be a book that you've read before and you just want to go back to again, because there's a real joy in that, not least because you're reminded of lovely things like I was, but you also learn new things as well. Every time something subtle and new comes through. So as you go into this week, you're going to be busy, there's going to be lots of work, just as you would expect. But if you get some free time away from the screen, away from the demands of schoolwork, perhaps spend 20 minutes with a book. Think of it as visiting an old friend, getting back together. And I think you'll get the same level of joy from the book you choose that I have from this one. Excellent. So as ever, we'll put our hands together and we'll close our eyes as we say the Lord's Prayer. And if you want to join me, you're very welcome to do so. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread and forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Lovely. Have a great week. Continue to work hard. I'll catch up with all of you on Friday through Assembly and be visiting in on the work that you're doing as well. Have a lovely, lovely week. Bye now.